Purple Heart Homes presents Putting the Pieces Back Together, a forum for veterans and the community to connect. Here are your hosts, veterans John Galena and Brad Borders.
Well, good morning.
Good morning and welcome to the WSIC News Studios with John Galena.
Brad Borders. Good morning.
We are happy to be here with you and putting the pieces back together.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Cook's Headers, Welcome Home Vets, Lake Mountain Coffee, and our veteran friend and buddy, Dr. Grant Campbell. So thank you guys for sponsoring the show. You got a big day today. You got somebody important in your life that was brought into the world today. Who was that?
That's right. My wife, Corey Ann. Happy birthday. So thankful for her and just a great day to celebrate.
Happy birthday, Corey Ann. I'm glad you were born.
I always thought she was kind of a cool lady, but I didn't realize she was born on the same day that James Dean was born.
Well, that's
not in 1931.
No, definitely not in 1931.
February the 8th.
Yeah, right on, man.
Yeah,
does she know that? Is that something that she has lauded as hey, I was born on the same day as James Dean?
I don't know, but it'll be a birthday test today to see if she actually listened to the show.
That's right. Well, I was born on the same day as Jimmy Carter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I always thought I was special because I was born on the same day as him.
Well, I wasn't born on the same day as Jimmy Carter or anybody that I know of very special, but I always thought being born in the same month as George Washington was kind of cool. So,
yeah.
I gotta go for the same month.
You share that with a lot of people.
So, Chap, I've been thinking.
All right.
We got pulled into the manager's office, to the station owner's
office. Into the principal's
right?
office, yep. They fired us.
And I kind of got to thinking about it this morning as I was, getting ready. And I was like, maybe this is kind of like being in the military. You mess up and you move up. Maybe this is really a
mess
test.
up and move up. Yeah, I've met that guy before.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. You're like, how did that guy get promoted?
Is this a test to see if we can run off more listeners?
No, I'm sure it is. Well, I can hear the radios clicking off as we speak right now. So click, 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 click.
Yeah.
But man, today, since it's our first hour-long broadcast, we're going to be on with you until 8:59 and 30 seconds today, which unfortunately for you is a bad thing, but for us it's good because we get to jabber on. And but today is a special day, and we wanted to take this time since we got an hour. We are coming up on Saturday is going to be the 4th anniversary of the loss of Dale Beatty, and the co-founder of Purple Heart Homes, our dear friend. And so we wanted to take this first hour-long show to remember him. He had a massive impact on not just us, but a lot of folks that he served with within North Carolina National Guard, and then extrapolate that out to the thousands of veterans that have been impacted by his and your vision 16 years ago, 17 years ago to make their lives better, improve the lives of veterans one home at a time. And so I think it's important for us to take the time to remember, because as years go by, it has a way of dulling our memories. But when we can collectively recall, we can tell stories, we can hold on to life a little bit and hold on to those memories and so that they don't drift away in our hearts and in our minds.
Hey, Chap, before we go much further with Dale, I'd like to just also remember Dale's family. He's left behind a mom, Celine, who's not only a dear friend and a mom to so many of us at Purple Heart Homes, but
she takes care of our gardens and brings us those amazing cucumbers every summer. They're fantastic.
But he also left behind a wife, Belinda, and 3 kids, Dustin, Lucas, and Sophia, and a sister, Amber, and brother-in-law, Michael, and niece, Michaela. And we're just, forever thankful for those relationships. And while we know that our loss of a friend and a battle buddy, a co-founder, a co-worker, and so many other things, it does not compare to the loss that they experienced as a direct family member. And I know all the kids, they still mourn and miss him daily, and as we think about that and think about the family, just so many in the community all around the country poured out support and have continued to ask about the family, and there's so many that care. And like with so many others that experience loss, maybe we don't always know what to do.
Yeah, that's true.
But I am thankful for those that have provided support and continue to ask about the family, and they've not forgotten Dale or his family.
Yeah,
so
that's
thank
true.
you.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to pause and do things like this and remember. It inspires us to live well when we remember somebody that really gave back. And because Dale was such a character, hopefully we'll do a lot of laughing today because laughter is good for the soul. And so with that in mind, we brought a special guest in today. So we're pretty excited about having him here. Somebody we see on a regular basis. And,
in the military, we have this term called battle buddies, and so often. You develop relationships. It's not just one. It's so many. And while Dale and I worked together in the civilian world, and we also served in the North Carolina National Guard together, we shared a friendship and a relationship that we work well together. But Dale was kind of unique in everybody wanted to be Dale's battle buddy, right? And it didn't really matter where you were at, and he developed some really close relationships in there. And so really proud to have on retired Command Sergeant Major Stephen Johnson, who's also been a longtime supporter of Purple Heart Homes, very active here in the community, and now a business owner across Cannon Construction, does a lot of work here in the community. And so welcome, Stephen.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on today, especially to remember Dale.
Yep.
He's greatly missed, as you've talked about already. And, we all think about him every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know he counted you as a close battle buddy. You guys served day to day, and as you were both active guard, and he was the Statesville Readiness NCO, and you were over the battery, the Charlie Battery that we all served in.
Yeah, that's correct. And and as we get into it, I'll tell a story a little bit later about one of the things that Dale did. But it was a pleasure.
He only did one thing?
Well, no, I'll keep it clean today. But this is a good story. But it'll help, for those that didn't know him well, just how he was, and one of the things I remember most. But I remember, I miss that grin and that smile and
crooked grin.
Him calling. How you doing, chap?
Yeah.
And I miss him.
Yeah, the one that whenever Dale would leave, if he was leaving your office or driving away, he loved John Boy and Billy, right? I mean, he loved those guys, but he would always go, "Love you, mean it," right? And that stuck around. That's part of the culture at Purple Heart Homes. Is people say that you'll hear that. All day long as people are leaving the office and heading home during the day. So, anyhow, well, what in the world do we say about Dale Beatty? For those that don't know, John, I'll let you kind of run down his bio and how Purple Heart Homes got started and all that, because I'm sure there's listeners out there that don't know who Dale was, and so we need to introduce them to him.
Well, in so many ways, our stories intertwine not only with each other, but with so many other people, men from Statesville. And in a lot of ways, it's a story through the National Guard that reached not only into the military, but into the community as a whole. And so, I got to start with Dale was a drummer. And he loved playing music. He loved his band. He loved all his band members. And when we hit our first break today, in today's show at the bottom of the hour, we got a little tribute to Dale and his band members that will play some of their music.
The name of the band was Outlaw 2-1. So right,
and Outlaw 2-1 was the name of our gun. It was the name of our section in the Guard, and so a little tribute there to the military service. But they were, as a band, they were instrumental in the reintegration process. Yeah. And we talk about putting the pieces back together, how we're all a part of that process of helping bring our soldiers home.
Yeah, music was a big deal to him, and we were going to have Joey Waters in today, and Joey had a medical procedure yesterday and wasn't feeling too good, and Joey's a musician, and he was actually going to come in and sing a song today, but we'll have to save that for another time.
And not only was Joey a musician, Joey was another one of those battle buddies. Joey, when we deployed to Iraq, he showed up to our unit, I want to say just a couple of days before we deployed, and he was 18 years old.
Well, he still looks like he's 18. I can't imagine what he looked like in 2003. I cannot imagine.
Maybe like he was about 14 then.
Yeah, he probably. I mean, like, I'm sure there was like, hey, let me see your ID, boy. You know.
We had a lot of fun with Joey, and just an amazing soul, amazing young man, and so we're thankful for his service. But you're right. You know, music is a form of therapy and recovery in so many ways, and both for those that suffer from physical injuries and those that suffer from mental, injuries as well. And so thankful for the band and all that they were a part of and continue to do in the community. And so I have that little tribute there. So Dale and I both enlisted in the Guard in 1996, about a month apart. We had never met. I graduated from North Iredell High School. Dale was at West Iredell High School. When we enlisted, Dale was a senior, I was a junior, and from the very beginning, we were very competitive with each other. And so he could always run faster. I could do a few more push-ups, sit-ups. Neither one of us liked. That was where we bonded. Neither one of us liked doing sit-ups. And Steven, he was a PT monster, and he loved making us run. And so we had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
But I'll share with everybody. Just before Dale died, the year that before, we had started writing a book called Wounded Homecoming. And so folks can go on Amazon, and they can find the book on Amazon and be able to read and learn a little bit more about the story and the story of Purple Heart Homes. And but ultimately, because of the way the community responded,
so what happened, man?
Particularly with Dale's injury after we returned home, we saw that there was so much more need in our community, that people needed a bathroom remodel so it could be wheelchair accessible. They needed a wheelchair ramp. There was just tons and tons of older veterans that had come out and supported the building of Dale and his family's home. And so in the process, we said, hey, how could we do more of this? How can we inspire more people to get involved, not just to help those returning today, but to help those that had returned home from Vietnam 40 years prior? Yeah. Countless times that we would, go to the store or, somewhere in the community, and Vietnam veterans would come up and just want to thank Dale for his service. And in the process, it was always, no, let me thank you. And he never forgot those that had went before him. And that was really inspiring, that it was, even being a double amputee, it was never about him. Yeah. It was never, oh, woe is me, but it was always, how can we do something? How can we leverage where we're at to be able to help somebody else? And that's the spirit and the culture that still abounds in Purple Heart Homes today.
Well, for those that don't know, right, so you and Dale were in a Humvee in November of 2004 and drove over a anti-tank mine, and that's where Dale's injuries happened. He lost both of his legs, and there's a lot of people that are still here in Statesville that were on scene that day, right? And it was a traumatic day for everybody. And so that was really, I've couched it like this before. It was the worst day of y'all's lives, right? But it turned out to be the best day of a lot of other people's lives. But because of those injuries, because the injuries Dale sustained, the injuries you sustained, is the reason that this charity, Purple Heart Homes, exists. Without that happening, it wouldn't be.
I think about it a lot of ways, that as we come home, we had so many people that would come up and tell us, just relax, just, draw that check, just sit at the house, enjoy life. But that was really wrong. Not in the sense of we owed anything, but when you have purpose, and it gives more meaning to life. And having that purpose was a driver for Dale and I both, that it created a sense of value within us and an ability to contribute. And I really like to think that as an organization, we've created that same value and purpose in hundreds of other veterans around the country now, that they have, been able to be beneficiaries of Purple Heart Homes' service. The community has rallied around them. They've found, value in helping others, that they're now out doing more, whether it's providing service dogs or whether it's providing, some form of therapy. They're involved and engaged in their community. And so in so many ways, Dale's spirit and his inspiration is still living on through other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Stephen, we're so glad you're here. Can you tell us a little bit about your service and then maybe how you met Dale through all of that?
Yeah, so I was an old-timer compared to Dale and John. I'd started a little earlier, I guess you would say, back in December of 90s when I enlisted. But I met Dale and John, I think it was honestly in July of 98.
Okay.
Because I was gone when they came in, and anyway, I came back to the unit, and that's when I met those guys.
Yeah.
And met Dale. I was there until we got ready to deploy when Iraq happened and all that stuff. But Dale, we brought him on. It was in 2003 to be the readiness NCO here in Statesville, and I went to Lincoln, as John was saying. And, it was kind of a crash course because he didn't have much time to learn what he needed to do day to day because we were getting ready to deploy. But the story I was talking about earlier goes in line with Dale and how he always wanted to help others and do. And even though he was short in the saddle, I'll call it, once we got to Moab Station, one of our soldiers had cancer. And it was really, really bad. And they only gave him a few months to live, and he didn't even know it. And it was, like I said, we didn't find out till Moab Station. So Dale was nonstop for the next couple weeks in ensuring that his family was going to be cared for. And so by doing that, and he made sure that he got half of his SGLI prior.
Wow.
Because he had a terminal illness, and he knew his family needed to be cared for and not to worry about anything while he was sick.
Yeah, for those that don't know, SGLI is the Service Members Group Life Insurance that every military member qualifies for when they're on duty, and you can't get that until after you go to the great by and by. And that tells me something about Dale. Dale's, his giving heart didn't happen after he got injured.
That's right.
He had a giving heart always.
Right? He did, and as you said, normally, most cases you have to be, gone before you can get it, but he worked tirelessly on that and was able to get it processed in a record time.
Man.
And we got to see that through. And unfortunately, that soldier, he did pass away within a couple months, but his family was cared for. So it was that's one of the many things that Dale would do. He was just adamant in taking care of somebody. And as John was talking about, everybody wanted to be Dale's battle buddy. I mean, how could you not like Dale when he smiled at you with that, that crooked grin and, he was full of life, and he's just a wonderful person to be around.
What's your favorite memory of Dale? Maybe something stupid he did, or funny that he did, or something he said.
That's a tough one. There's so many memories when I think of Dale, but I can tell you at one time I was having a rough time in my life, and Dale, he come and talked to me. He was a specialist then. It was funny.
Sham Shield.
Yeah, he said, "Look, I know where you are and I know where I'm at, but you need to sit down and close your mouth and listen to me for a few minutes." And so he had a good conversation with me. Wow. And the conversation he had, it went a long ways, and I understood where he was coming from.
Yeah.
So, and you would have been a staff sergeant or E6 at the time, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, the specialists say, "Hey, you need to sit down and
that's
shut
what
up, let me listen."
Yeah, it was a good conversation. That's right. And you know what? I appreciated that. And I think every now and then we all need somebody to sit us down and have a conversation with us. So that was
So I met Dale first time. It was over 10, 11 years ago at a concert at Statesville High, and then I was just home visiting off of active duty, and I just remembered him playing drums with no legs, right? And I just thought that is the coolest thing. And then I met him again when I was at Walter Reed of all places. I was serving at 3rd Special Forces Group, and I had one of my soldiers who was sick up at Walter Reed, and so I was up there visiting him, and I was in the lobby in the Americas wing, I think that's what they call it, and I see this young guy in a wheelchair with no legs, and he had a Purple Heart Homes hat on. And I was like, man, that's Dale Beatty, right? And he didn't recognize me because we'd only really met one time, but I was in uniform, and we weren't inside of Statesville, right? And so I was like, hey man, what do you know about Purple Heart Homes, right? And he was like, well, hey, I'm Dale Beatty, I'm the co-founder, and we help veterans all over the United States, right? And I was like, man, I know who you are. I'm Brad Borders, and he was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? And he was up there getting some treatment for a blood infection, and so I spent a couple hours with him and Belinda up in their hospital room. He was like, hey man, when you get off active duty, come by and see me, and I did, and and then I ended up getting hired. So that's how things work, right? Yeah, he's a unique guy.
I can't help but think of, nearly 20 years of working with Dale one way or another, and all the different stories. And Stephen, you're so right. There are so many. It's hard to pick from. And I remember this one particular time this was when Clinton was in office. We had a drill, and we didn't have money for meals. It was everything. The budget was halted. Everybody still had to show up. And of course, we were going to get paid at some point, but
at some point,
we did. The only thing we had to eat were MREs, and so Dale concocted this plan. Instead of passing the hat around, we would go in uniform to one of the local pizzerias, and we would get them to donate pizzas. And little did I know the training value that would provide later as we started Purple Heart Homes. But so he sends me in, and for some reason he would always kind of push me out to be that guy, and he'd kind of stand back and see what would happen. And I can remember so many times he would say, just go in and go do this and tell them that, and if they say no, then I'll come in. Yeah. And so sure enough, we go in, they tell me no, he goes in. A few minutes later, after I come out, and he walks out with 10 pizzas in his hands. I'm like, man, how did you do that? But he had this heart for service and to help others, and I don't believe he ever met anybody, no matter whether it was President Bush when he pinned on his Purple Heart, or whether it was movie stars or rock stars or somebody on the street, that he just did not see as just another human being, and he gave them the same respect no matter who they are. Yeah. And I think that was one of the greatest things about Dale, was that he had a love for people, and he just wanted to be a kind person to everybody he met.
There was a story about how there was a boat, there was a flood, or something. That story is epic. I don't know if we want to get into that before the break. Got time to do that?
We'll have to definitely tell that story. It's really funny. So we did a couple of events, a couple of deployments for hurricanes. And so this one particular hurricane, Dale and I were at a fire department together, and it was me, Dale, and another soldier, Sergeant Short, and we would go out with the fire department and help get people out of their houses, and inevitably, some people don't want to come out of their homes, and so we would wind up going out on a boat and getting them off the roof.
Right.
And so, as flood waters are rising, if you don't come out of the inside, you're going to end up on the roof. And so this one particular day, we had gotten a call from a lady, and her husband was on the roof. He wasn't wanting to leave. The fire department was sent out to go pick him up. Well, Sergeant Short, he was driving a 5-ton pulling the boat trailer, and the assistant chief and me and Dale were in the boat. And we went to go load up after we had picked up the gentleman off the roof, and we just thought, well, we'll just load the boat up while the truck's moving through the water, because it's a great big truck, big tires. He was just driving through the water, and so I jumped out of the boat first onto the trailer and was hooking the front of the boat up onto the trailer, and the driver all of a sudden decided to stop. Well, a boat just doesn't stop.
Right.
And so as the boat starts careening into the back of the trailer, or into the back of the truck, Dale and another gentleman had just yanked me up out of the way. And so I'll never forget Dale saying to me, "You owe me a pair of legs."
Yep, that's right.
And he reminded me of that when I saw him later at Walter Reed, and he said, "Now you owe me 2 pair of legs."
That's awesome. Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, listen, hey, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a quick break to honor our sponsors and the radio station. And so hope you'll come back. We're going to have more with Stephen Johnson when we come back, and take some calls from folks at New Dale. And this is putting the pieces back together.
Everything.
Yep.
So, so you guys can just do whatever.
All right, so while the live station is on break here, we're going to just take a few minutes here for our Facebook Live listeners. If you have a story and you'd like to make a couple of notes here, a couple of comments, please do so onto the comment section in Facebook, and we will give those call outs when we come back live. Dave, I hear you that Chap looks better than me with the headphones on. I think it's got a lot to do with the Purple Heart Homes beanie.
That's right.
It's kind of funny because Dale used to always kind of pick on me. He always kept the high and tight, whereas I preferred my hair a little longer.
Right.
Something about an ugly face needs a little bit of hair to help cover it up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, got to hide it. That's why I grow a beard most of the time.
Yeah. We got Pat Shannon, our Air Force friend, in
hey,
here
Pat.
with us.
Speaking of ugly face.
Hey, good morning.
Just wanted to warn you, do good now, you're going to 2 hours.
Oh, my gosh. Lord, don't do that to him. Don't do that to him. Got Leon's watching, and, Cheryl's watching from work. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Cheryl, get back on Salesforce.
Yep. Cheryl always does a great job. Helps hold us together.
Louise Salmons is watching. My dear friend Louise, that's Tina Bickford's mom. Tina rode Take That Hill with us, so that's pretty cool. Good morning, Miss Louise. You're amazing. So Keith Bills is watching. That's pretty awesome.
One of Dale's favorite vets, and a project that he was happy we worked on. Chris Whitworth, another vet who's helped support so many times, both through construction work and fundraiser work. Chris, I really appreciate you. Louise Salmons, thank you.
Oh, listen, Keith Bill says, I met Dale at McDonald's on Highway 90, and he was actually buying food for a man behind him. Says, I remember him telling the guy he just felt like he needed to bless him. Oh, that's a great story. Thank you, Keith. I appreciate that.
It's interesting how many people I've heard from over the years, particularly one I saw here a few weeks ago, had met Dale at Food Line. He tried to buy Dale groceries, and Dale was encouraging him to help another veteran.
Right.
He says, I'm good. I've got it covered, but help another veteran. There's
fantastic.
other ways for you to get involved, and he was always looking out for other people.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Can I tell my Dale?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Isaiah. Hey, hold on. We got to introduce everybody. This is Isaiah that's talking to us. He's our engineer.
Real quick, we got like 40 seconds. I've never actually met him, but when I was at Bilo a couple years ago, I just see somebody walking out of Bilo or walking in, 2 amputated legs, just walking.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him. I'm like, what? you know,
right.
What? Who is this? And
Yeah.
I didn't say it out loud, but my wife was like, he works for Purple Heart Homes. So I never actually met the guy.
Oh, yeah.
But I know who he was.
Isn't that cool?
Like, you just
Yeah,
walk
right?
around,
Yeah.
like,
That's awesome.
That was pretty cool, and I didn't know that was him.
Yeah, that's great, man.
He had a swagger about him in his walk that
He did.
he definitely looked like somebody you didn't want to mess with.
And in fact, well, maybe we'll tell this when we go back on the air. So I was to talk about him being taller with his with his. That's Outlaw 2-1 right there, in case you didn't know. That was Dale playing drums.
You got Eric Hartness with vocals, Tommy Beaver with bass and backup vocals, Brian Gaither with rhythm guitar, backup vocals, and Stephen Sharp, lead guitar. And just so thankful for all those gentlemen and the relationship, the friendship, and the bond that they all shared with Dale.
Didn't Jewel used to sing with them too?
Yep, Jewel sang with them on a number of occasions.
That's right.
Tanya sang with them on a number of occasions.
Yeah,
yep,
it was awesome.
A lot of groups in there, and a number of.
I don't know if all that stuff's on Spotify and all that. I mean, if people want to listen to it, maybe you could just do a search on Spotify for Outlaw 2-1. You might be able to find them on there.
Yeah, this particular CD that they recorded is Outlaw 2-1 Carolina Shine, and we're gonna see if we can.
There's a song on there called "Long Legged Woman." I don't know if that one is appropriate for prime time, but that might be a good one.
Yeah, they had some really unique originals that they did. So great relationships.
That's awesome.
So chat, we've got our first live caller.
Oh my gosh, we ought to have like a cowbell or something. I'm gonna bring my cowbell in next week for. We got one. All right, look at that, man. We got props and everything. You're like a prop comic now, John Galena. Yeah, like Carrot Top. So,
all right, let's see who this
who
caller
we got on
is.
the line.
Welcome to Putting the Pieces Back Together with John and Brad, and our special guest today, Stephen Johnson. Caller?
Hey, my name is Mike Lennon. How are you doing?
Of course, our friendly Marine. How are you, Mike Lennon?
I think he's the only Marine Cobra pilot to land on a street inside of North Carolina.
Wow!
And get a parking ticket.
I did not know that story.
On a bridge.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome, Mike Lennon. How are you, friend?
I'm doing good, Brad. How about you guys?
Yeah, doing great, man. Thanks so much for calling in. We appreciate it. Well, you got a cool story about Dale for us?
I got a couple. I think I met him in 2009. Would have been at the Fisher House Golf Classic, and a big golf tournament that I was the chairman of, and it was my first year as the chairman. I was just kind of on muscle memory, having people come out to the event. As luck would have it, it was about 50 degrees and pouring down rain, and I had 300 people standing around wondering what we're going to do. And I'll tell you, it was one of those days where if I was playing golf with three friends, I would have called them and said, we're not playing today.
Right.
And I would have gone back to bed,
right,
because it was miserable. And all of a sudden I get this young guy standing 12 inches, 18 inches in front of my face saying, hey, man, are you in charge? And I'm like, who is this guy? Who is this person? Why is he bothering me? And it was Dale. And he goes, my name's Dale, man. How you doing? And I said, I'm trying to figure out what to do, Dale. How are you? Can we talk later? And he goes, I'll tell you what, it is so cold I can't feel my feet. And of course, I hadn't seen his feet, so I kind of looked down as he's looking down. And then as I start looking back up, I realize that he's smirking at me. He's smiling. Now, what Dale didn't realize is my sister was an amputee. She lost her leg when she was 8. So I could kind of deal with amputee humor, if you want to call it that. But he definitely had me. And then he kind of went serious on me, and he said, hey, look, it's not the perfect day for golf out here. It's miserable, but we're not here to play golf. We're here to make money for the Fisher House Foundation. And my family and I stayed there for a long time when I was recovering. And I got a lot of friends that aren't here today that can't play in this tournament, so I'm going to get my foursome out, and we're going to go play golf because there's no lightning.
Right.
And I'd like you to go get the rest of the people out there on the course so we can make some money for this foundation today. And I said, we'll do that.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome.
So we did, and we raised almost $1 million that day for the Fisher House Foundation.
Wow.
And then,
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing.
when it was, yeah. And so afterwards, he came up to me and he goes, hey, let me tell you what we're doing down in Statesville. And he started talking to me about what y'all were doing. And as soon as he started talking about helping veterans from other generations, my dad was a Korea and World War II vet. And I knew that my dad had never had anybody help him when he came home from Korea. And so as soon as he started talking about that aspect of the mission, I just fell in love with him. I was like, oh my God, what a wonderful person. And then when I started meeting other people from Purple Heart Homes and realizing that Dale and John had attracted other people that were, for lack of a better term, kindred spirits, I was just like, this is the organization I want to be part of for the rest of my life. I want to contribute to, and I want to be around people like this. So that's why I love you guys so much.
No, man, Mike, that's a blessing, dude. I appreciate that story, man. We love you too, buddy, and thank you for just not only supporting what we do, just being a good friend. We're very thankful for you.
Thank you for your service and your family's service as well, Mike. We love you.
Even though you're a Marine, so we still love you, though.
Hey, he's the coolest Marine I think
He
I've
is a
ever
cool
met.
Marine. Yeah, we know a couple. We know some. Actually, to be honest, I don't have any Marines that I know that I don't like.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah,
All willing to fight the good fight for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do hide the crayons from them.
Yep. All right.
So.
Thank you, Mike. We look forward to talking with you some more soon. We're going to move on to our next caller. All right, caller, welcome. Good morning. This is John and I almost called you Dale.
Well, it's close.
Wow.
Yeah.
John and Brad with Putting the Pieces Back Together. All right.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to the show. Who we got on the
I
line?
know that voice.
I have no idea who this is, but I can tell you it is.
I better
10
be on
degrees
my.
and snowing where I am.
I better be on my best behavior. It sounds like my boss.
Oh, is that Dave?
It's Dave, our board chairman.
I didn't know you had a boss.
Well, actually, I really got two. Corey Ann is the number one boss, but you would be number
Yes.
two boss.
Good morning, Dave. Thanks for calling, buddy.
Yeah, my pleasure. I thought I'd share a couple of quick stories.
So, please go
yeah,
ahead.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So, John, you would know better. I ask you this every time when the three of us actually met together. I don't remember what year that was. It was out in California after the CNN Heroes exposure, and you got some training and stuff. But I think I remember telling you that I actually met Dale before that, and I was
That's
doing
right.
a training with the USO in North Carolina. He came in the room, and it didn't matter. There's a lot of people in that room, and it didn't matter what their history with the military was. I mean, people flocked to Dale, like 10 pizzas came in the room, and you were hungry. I mean, things just stopped. And if I recall correctly, John, he had blades. They called him blades. Did he not have an initial pair of legs that were more like the blades? Am I remembering that wrong?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. He always wore shoes, but they were a more advanced form of a prosthetic.
He didn't like them very much, though.
No, eventually there was a Soleus Tactical was made that he helped design and was branded by a prosthetic company up in Ohio. Yeah.
Well, John, he would say to me things like, listen, I never have to change my socks.
Right.
Right. My socks are always clean, and I never have to change them. And I remember when, at the end of that session in California, when all the participants got an extra grant at the end, I believe Dale, everyone was just jumping around. Dale just looked at me and said, I didn't bring my dancing legs. So, he celebrated in his own way. But everything you guys described is accurate. It's just an honor to be associated with you guys, all of you. I'm going to do my best to make sure we carry forward that legacy.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Certainly, we learned a lot through all the training with you, and all the support. It's been great.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. We're going to move to our next caller here. Thanks for calling in, Dave.
Hey, good morning.
You're live.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Christina Moore.
Oh, wow.
Good morning, Colonel Moore.
Good morning, ma'am. We all stood up at attention as soon as you called in. Everybody locked up. Locked up.
For those listening, Colonel Moore was on our founding board of directors then as a young Captain Moore.
Wow.
Yeah. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to share a couple stories, and you brought up the founding board, and I met both you and Dale obviously through a mutual friend, Sonny Simpson, which I know many of us are very fond of, and thankful for the day that our paths crossed. But I know a couple of people have made comments about, Dale just made people comfortable, right? And I think specifically in regards to, being an amputee. And I remember when we started doing the founding discussions and talking about homes and how do we want to make a big show of, really kind of ribbon cutting and bring the community together. And I told Dale, at the time I was running quite a bit, and I said, what if we do like a race, like a 5K, and we end at the house, right? And then we cut the ribbon there. And he looked at me and he goes, have you looked at me? He goes, and I said, Dale, it has nothing to do with you losing your legs. You're just lazy. I've been like double amputees and races. And, that was just Dale. And I'll tell you another time which we were all struggling. Sonny Simpson lost his father, which was a great man, spiritual leader. And I sat next to Dale, and many of us, Joe Bowles, quite a few of us were in our blues and uncomfortable and just really an emotional time. And Dale sat right in front of us, and there was a woman who sat next to him, and she was staring at his legs. And he just looked over at her in the middle of the funeral, in the middle of a very emotional and just difficult time for all of us. And he looked at her and he goes, Did I mix up my shoes? I do that sometimes. He goes, sometimes I don't put my matching shoes or socks on, and it just, it just reminded us that what a great man he was.
So, Christina, I will tell you this: at that funeral, that was just before Dale passed, just the Friday before Dale passed, and at that funeral, one of our friends, Miss Louise Salmons, she met Dale at that funeral. And he gave her a Purple Heart Homes coin. She still got it, and her and her family are now involved with Purple Heart Homes. She keeps telling me, every time I see her, I remember how nice that young man was, and how sweet and how kind he was. So
absolutely,
yeah, man. Well,
he was truly the definition of selfless.
Yeah.
Truly was
a hero to so many.
Yep. Thank you, Christina.
And Christina, thanks for bringing up the run. Yeah, neither one of us really ever liked to run. Again, as I said in the beginning of the show, that was kind of Stephen's way of punishing us, was to make us go out for a 2-mile run. But with that being said, we now have the Dale Beatty 5K Memorial Run.
Yep.
And it'll be coming up here
March the
12th at Lost World Brewing in Cornelius, North Carolina.
Yeah, it's going to be a big day. There's going to be a lot of people there. That's going to be a fantastic weekend. So come on out and celebrate that and go and do. I always like to say running is stupid unless you're having to run away from something. But this is running for something. So come on out and take part in that.
Yeah, and on our Facebook, we got a comment here. Chap, just want to say thank you for participating in Dale's funeral. Came to town and largely because of my love for John and Dale. Chap, you made us all feel a bit better that day. And so, yes, that's right.
Dave.
Thanks for what you've done for us. And,
Looks like
Colonel Moore, thank you so much for your
Thank
service.
you, Christina.
And thanks for all your support. And we're going to move to our next caller.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Welcome.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you guys for what you do. Welcome to Tuesdays. I love your show. My father and grandfather both were in the military. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to the military. I went in the fire service and retired from there a few years ago. But just wanted to say welcome, guys. Love your show, and hope you guys have a great time at this.
Oh, thank you so much. Who we got on the line? Who is this?
My name's Ronnie. I'm from Mooresville, down
Well, hey,
south
Ronnie.
of you guys.
Yeah, well, gosh, well, hey, we got listeners in Mooresville. Holy cow, man, we're expanding our listener base. That's fantastic. Hey, thanks, Ronnie. We appreciate it, and thanks for your family's service to our country and your service in as a firefighter. So, thank you so much.
Well,
That's right. Thank
you, guys.
All right.
I truly do appreciate what you do, and thank you, God.
All
If
right.
there's any way you could, we can support you, let us know.
Oh, God bless
We
you, man.
appreciate that so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So a couple of just quick comments here, just as we continue to think about Dale. I've heard so many great stories and a great way to remember him. One in particular stands out with me. I want to share, and sometimes we need that little bit of humor to help us just get through the day. And one that I oftentimes think about was a few years back while we were doing a speaking engagement up in Manchester, Connecticut. Our PR lady had coordinated an event where we were meeting at a mayor's office, and we had about 100 or so people that were there, and a couple of senators and congressmen, and so we were coming in for kind of a pre-meeting, and all of a sudden Vicky messages us as soon as you get ready to walk in, text me and let me know you're about to walk in. I'm going to do an introduction when you walk in. It's like, well, this is kind of different, and so we're walking up the steps. I text Vicky, say we're about to walk in, and Dale, he walks in first. He opens the door, and Vicky stands up, and here's Dale Beatty with no legs, and here's John Galena with no brains.
Awesome. There you go.
I was like, well, that's a great way to get introduced, right?
Yeah, there you go.
And so, over the years, Mike, talked about the little bit of humor, and we need that. We need that because, what Dale and I used to say to each other all the time, if you're not going to laugh, you're going to cry.
Yep.
And there's so much to remember and be proud of. There's so much to remember and be inspired by. And I just encourage all those folks out there that are listening and have lost somebody recently or years past to take a moment to ponder the good times, to ponder things that made you laugh, and be inspired by the things that they did that can help you help somebody else. And that's what we try and do every day with Dale. And there's so many out there that have need, and we're losing folks way too fast.
Yeah.
Chap, I think we've got another caller on the line, and we have a few more minutes for a caller,
Okay,
so let's
great.
check them out.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, so I was just calling in.
Hey, good morning. Who we got on the line?
So this is Charles Page.
Hi, Charles Page.
One of my past bosses.
Oh,
Chairman Emeritus.
Yeah, Chairman Emeritus. That's right. Good morning, Charles. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. I was watching y'all on the internet, and it's so we must have a little different. That's a different timing here, so I'm gonna quit watching it on that and just talk to you.
Right.
Yeah, a little bit of a delay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are grateful to have you here.
Yeah. So I'm just we're talking about Dale, and one of the he's such a great promoter for for people in general, and for Purple Heart Homes, and everybody's been talking about how people just couldn't help but just gravitate towards him, and that is so true. But one of the things that I remember about Dale was his command voice, and I can remember, John, this is back when we were first getting started, and we were having a meeting down in the guard building, and it was cold as all get out, and I think we brought in some heaters, these work work heaters, and when you turned them on, you couldn't hear yourself think.
That's
down
right.
There.
Yeah.
But Dale was a big picture kind of guy. He wasn't much in for, if you got off task in your discussion, or if you were getting too much in the detail, he didn't have much patience for that. And so he really wanted to keep things moving. And so I can remember he would, as that gentle, soft voice that he had, he would put on his command voice and get us all back in gear.
That's right.
And
that's right. And he'd yell over them blowers too, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Charles. We appreciate you and Christy. Hope y'all are doing well, brother.
We are.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Charles, for all your support over the years and all the training you've helped provide us in leadership. We really appreciate you.
You know, we love you and love all you do. And Dale still lives on.
Yeah.
He lives in the mission, and he lives on in what y'all do every day.
Amen.
And just thank y'all so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Charles.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
Love
Have
you
a great
guys,
day,
too.
buddy.
And as you said, we talked about earlier, and, we're talking about Dale, a lot of it's post what happened, after Iraq, but, he was this vision came to, fruition after, but I can always remember Dale and talking about the greatest generation and how he honored the, the World War II vets.
Yeah.
And so it was always on his mind, I think, in some way or another.
Seven great uncles and his grandfather.
Yes.
Or 6 great uncles and his grandfather all served. And you're right. For the longest time, he would talk about their service, and so many in Korea and Vietnam. He never forgot about those that had went before him.
He loved the M1 Garand rifle.
Yes.
Yep. Loved that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the first nonprofits outside of Fisher House. He stayed in the Fisher House, as Mike Lennon had mentioned, and he just loved the Fisher House and wanted to give back and support them, and did for a number of years, serving on their board, and he served on the USO board. But another one of the local charities that was a key part in the reintegration process was M1s for Vets.
Yes, that's right.
And J.J. O'Shea, a charity that he started, where he would bring vets out and have them shoot. And I remember about a year after Dale returned home from Walter Reed, he was out shooting one day, and he called me up and said, "Hey, you need to come out here and come shoot. We shoot these really cool old World War II rifles, these M1 Garands, and have a lot of fun." He said, "There's no scopes." He said, "It's all iron sights, and we go out over to Allison's Woods, and we shoot on the old airfield." And he was right. I went out and joined them for a long time, and Dale would go shoot in competition matches up in Ohio with them, and just a great way to build camaraderie, build community, and give back and support. And JJ's charity is still going on supporting vets, and so we're thankful for all of them. As we start to wrap here, Stephen, is there any other thoughts you'd like to share with us, or funny memories, funny stories you'd like to share?
Well, I'll just say I'm thankful for what you guys are doing at Purple Heart Homes. I'm happy to be a part of it when I can, and it's a great thing, and to live on, John, what you and Dale started, and how it's growing and more getting across the country. So I appreciate that. Thanks for the opportunity to be on, and for letting me be a part of this day.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you for your service too, Stephen.
Yeah,
thank you for the
appreciate
leadership you've provided us over the years, both in the Guard and the support and leadership you've provided with Purple Heart Homes and helping us build tiny houses. We got one on the floor you just framed up, and so be helping another veteran with that very soon. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to close out today. If you'd indulge us, I'd like to pray for us. And this is called a liturgy for missing someone. So if you're out there and you pray, this will be your time. So, Lord, you created our hearts for unbroken fellowship, yet the constraints of time and place and the stuttering rhythms of life in a fallen world dictate that all fellowships in these days will at times be broken or incomplete. We acknowledge, O Lord, that it is a right and good thing to miss deeply those whom we love, but with whom we cannot be physically present. So grant us, therefore, the courage to love well, even in this absence of time. Grant us courage to shrink neither from the aches nor the joys of that love brings for us, willingly received, and will accomplish the good works that you have appointed them to do. Therefore, we praise you even in our sadness, knowing that the sorrows that we steward in this life will in time be redeemed. And we praise you also, knowing these glad aches are a true measure of the bonds that you have wrought between our hearts. Now use our sorrows as tools in your hand, O Lord, shaping our hearts into a truer imitation of the affections of Christ. And use even this sadness to carve out spaces in our souls where still greater repositories of holy affection might be held, and to the end that we might better love in times of absence and in times of presence alike. And we now entrust all to your keeping. May our reunion be joyous, whether in this life or in the life to come. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Join us next week for Nancy Glass from Tunnels to Towers, Gold Star spouse, and continues to serve with Tunnels to Towers. It's going to be a great show. Thank you all for listening.
Next Thursday at 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. for Putting the Pieces Back Together on News Talk WSIC.